All right, it's official. Xavier, welcome to the Halving Report podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
You and I met at the Bitcoin Meetup, Niagara, hosted by Sean Somers, who I had on last time on the show. How did you get into the Bitcoin space?
Yeah, so thanks for having me again, and thanks for the question. So, I've been in Bitcoin maybe a few years now.
Yeah.
What actually got me into it was I've been investing for maybe 5 or 6 years, and my investing platform allowed me to finally buy Bitcoin. So that allowed me to look into it a little bit more. So I finally bought Bitcoin off of it was actually Wealthsimple.
Okay.
And then later down the road, I got into self-custody, so I was able to get into it further. But it was actually just what got me into it, I would say, is the ability to kind of have it right in front of me, the option to buy it. And I'm someone that looks at, I guess, self-improving, finding better ways to do things. And I think that's how most people are going to get into maybe the space as well, is people that want to improve, people that are curious.
Right.
I was curious about it.
One of my favorite quotes is "all paths lead to Bitcoin," and I think that kind of resonates with what you're saying there.
Definitely.
What do you think of this current? Like today, we had a price bump. Do we hit up to 71,000 American? Do you measure by Canadian or U.S. dollars?
U.S.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you what the price in Canadian.
I know, neither could I.
But yeah, no, I was even looking at it last night, and we were at around 69,000, and I decided I'm going to buy more today.
Yeah.
So I had to go to 71, and I'm like, okay, rinse and repeat. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah. So I remember when at the Bitcoin meetup, I remember you and a couple of the other fellows down at the end of the table, you guys seemed like very orange pilled and dedicated with a lot of conviction, talking about buying the dips. How important is that to your strategy, or is that kind of your strategy all along, or did you kind of lump some in when you got the bug?
I think it's my strategy now is to just keep buying the dips to try to accumulate as much as I can. I think lump summing is also a good way to do it, and people that lump sum, if you hodl, you'll end up doing very well. But I see it as, it was Robert Kiyosaki, I think his name was. I listened to him on a podcast maybe a few years ago, and he was talking about silver, and he would say that he would go to the store and buy $20 worth of silver every week, and over time his wealth would kind of accumulate. And I started to do that with Bitcoin. I would start buying a little bit every week, and that way, if the price of Bitcoin maybe drops a little bit, I won't be as worried because my $20 goes to maybe $18. I'm not as worried as if maybe I put 5,000 in, and then my 5,000 goes to 4,000, and then you're maybe a bit panicked, especially if you just get into it. So I kind of started small, so I'm just accumulating a little bit, and I used to buy weekly, and then April last year I had a bad dream that I didn't have enough Bitcoin. It wasn't a bad dream; it was a dream that Bitcoin went to 1 million.
Wow!
And I was like, if it goes to 1 million, I don't know if I'll have enough. So I started buying it every day.
Interesting.
I've slowed down a little bit from that. Now I buy it maybe a couple times a week if I can.
Wow.
But
good for you.
That's my strategy.
That
by a little bit.
Multiple times a week. That seems quite dedicated to the strategy. Yeah, very interesting. Do you have any more details of that dream that you had, or kind of in the past a little bit now? I know when I wake up in the morning, I remember my dreams for 20 seconds, and then they're out of my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
But well, let's cheers, man, because it's a big day for both of us. I'm publicly announcing I'm taking a hiatus from my fiat job and going to focus on Bitcoin along with a few other things for the next 12 months, hopefully. And this is your first time going public with your Twitter account. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I guess
let's do it. Yeah. Cheers. And shout out to Right Choice Realty and Joel Gonzalez for letting us use the space tonight.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
That's gonna be nice. Have some time off. Do what you enjoy. Do what you enjoy doing without any other distractions. But I joined Twitter maybe 4 years ago, I think, when the pandemic started. Make a really dumb tweet. It was the game Plague Inc. started with my real name and everything. And I converted to Bitcoin Twitter maybe around March of last year. And the reason why is because I had a YouTube channel that was doing okay. It was more of a gaming channel, but then it was kind of like everything.
Okay.
Then I got deleted off YouTube. So
what happened there?
I again, I was gaming channels. I was posting tutorials how to do things in games, and I saw somebody post a video on how to use Stake. You know, Stake the gambling, Stake.com, the gambling site
Okay.
that
Okay.
uses crypto. I posted how to use Stake.com or Stake.ca in Canada.
Okay.
And the way to do that is you have to use a VPN and
Oh no.
pretend you're
Yeah.
somewhere else and then get into it. So I
Right.
posted a YouTube video tutorial how to use it in Canada.
Wow.
It got a strike, so I appealed to YouTube saying, "Hey, this might be a mistake." So I read their terms, and it said websites that aren't allowed you can't post. So I made an appeal. They responded to my appeal with, "Hey, we've looked at this. We've decided to delete your account permanently." And I was
Oh my
like, "Are you
God.
serious?" I was working on it for about a year, and
Wow.
I was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot of work.
they deleted it. I couldn't get
I
it
cannot
back,
believe that.
and
So they must have seen some other things that you're pretty
I was supposed to, you know,
yeah.
Elden Ring, Dark Souls.
No. No.
Okay, those are pretty
Are
good
they?
like strategy games.
Okay.
So I was posting kind of just videos on how to do things there and walkthroughs and this and that. So
Mm.
I made one mistake and they cut me off.
That is crazy, man. Sorry to hear that.
That's okay.
I hope that that doesn't happen to the Halving Report one day. Maybe, we don't say anything too controversial on here and, keep it Bitcoin focused.
Yeah, for sure.
Is maybe the best bet. But, I've definitely spoken to some controversial people. Like we are talking on the way here, some things that the higher aboves probably don't agree with. But I feel like it'd be a long time for them to like sit through every podcast and like really, that's borderline and then ban it. So that's crazy, man. Sorry to hear about that.
It's okay. It was for the best because you know what? If I were to restart, now I can restart with experience. So
That's true.
everything's
It's true.
decent.
Yes, it is much easier to start for a second time.
Never appealed to Twitter, to YouTube. That's
Oh
what I've
no.
learned from it too.
Oh, okay.
They take some video down, just let it happen.
Yeah.
Don't go back to them asking questions about it because
Oh
they
yeah.
really look into, I guess.
Yeah, that is a good lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been pretty good so far. Like all the stuff I've like music and stuff I've used has been copyright free. And yeah, I didn't want to take too much chance there. And I mean, it's all mostly original content too. I do repost some stuff too, like some good sailor clips or something like that. But no flags yet. So we got into your entry into the space. We're talking about the price, but the big elephant in the room, I think, is the halving coming up. What are we like 3-4 weeks away?
I think, yeah, around that.
I think April 19th was the day that it's supposed to happen on.
Too bad it's not April 20th, but
I know. Oh, I know, right?
April 19th.
Close enough, man.
Yeah, for
Close
sure.
enough.
For sure. It'll be like a whole week event thing, I guess.
Yeah. So what do you think going into the halving? Do you think we're going to see some sideways action? Do you think it's going to be, buy the rumor, sell the news? What's your prediction there?
For me, I believe that everything is bullish for Bitcoin. So, and again, since I buy it so often that if we go down, I'm okay with it. If we go up, I'm okay with it. And I've been saying like quite often, maybe I heard it from somewhere else, but Bitcoin is the only asset where bears and bulls want the same thing. And that's for the price to go down. So that way we can buy more for cheaper. But going into the halving, I think I used to think that the price is going to at least double, right? Because according to math, it gets twice as hard to, I guess, produce the Bitcoin and get the Bitcoin. So I would say it only makes sense to at least double.
By the halving, or you're saying like the halving hype after like 6 to 10 months when we usually hit new all-time highs?
Maybe 6 to 10 months again.
Okay.
I don't think it'll happen right away, but if it did, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. So maybe just floating around this where it is up until the halving.
Yeah.
Was that your first time? Like, how many Bitcoin meetups in Niagara have you gone to, and like, how did you first hear about it?
Yeah, that was my first time going to
Oh, really? Okay.
I heard about it actually maybe 6-7 months ago. I think I posted on Twitter and I wanted to host my own meetup or kind of get into that. And I posted somebody should host a Bitcoin meetup here in Niagara with me. And I think they commented on my post saying we host one every third week of Wednesday or every third week of the month. And I was talking with my mom last week about an idea or different ideas that I had about maybe starting different or what I want to do. And that's just maybe work in the Bitcoin space. And I was saying that the one thing that I've noticed, because I've tried already a few different things, I've had a store, I've had this going, but I've noticed that one thing I might be missing is a partner that's also has the same goal in mind, same kind of ideas. And I'm noticing that a lot of the people I'm around don't really have the, I guess, same mindset with me about Bitcoin or about just work. A lot of people are still kind of on that, I don't want to say, but hamster wheel. They're kind of just like working to get experience. Whereas I'm like, that's great and all, but there's something bigger out there for all of us. And so I was talking to her about, what I'm missing is maybe a partner. Hey, I know that there's a Bitcoin event that happens every month, and I just did a quick look on Twitter, and I realized that the event was happening that day. So I'm like, oh,
wow,
I'm going to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I ended up showing up there.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you went, man.
Yeah.
So you didn't know anybody going there?
No, not at all.
Just Niagara Bitcoin Meetup reaching out to you on Twitter, man.
Yep.
There again, Twitter being like a big tool for Bitcoiners to connect. Like, again, that's where I get all of my, like, aside from you and, maybe a couple others, like just for meeting, but all my guests are coming from Twitter over the years. It's been like indispensable tool for me. So that's cool.
I found that Twitter is like the only platform where we're all pretty even. Like I've had some comments under some very popular people or people that have, like, again, millions of followers, like comment something that makes a little bit of sense and I'll get a response from them. You can't get that on other social media.
No.
It's very personal, Twitter.
Yes. The traction you get, the people that I don't know. Why do you think that is?
I guess it's because Twitter mostly is, or X, it's mostly tweets. And what tweets are, like, yes, you can add a video to it, yes, you can add a picture to it, but what tweets are, it's your thoughts. And I think that it's a pretty cool app, I guess, for that, is people can share their thoughts. And it's pretty well known as well. I know that Nostr is it's becoming kind of that right now, and Nostr might be better in the long run because it's not as centralized as Twitter would be, and you can't get maybe shut down just like you maybe could one day on X as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's where we're all sharing our thoughts, and people like to add their opinions.
Yeah, no doubt.
People like to share things as well, so that's why I think it's a good platform.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no doubt you're right about it being the number one platform for connecting with people and having that opportunity where they'll actually respond to you if you say something worthwhile. Whereas, other platforms is, Instagram's more about pictures, YouTube's about videos, but like Twitter's now, or X now, has kind of implemented videos, and you see people posting long form videos on there. Are you using it for that purpose at all, or you still kind of on YouTube for that?
I have posted a couple, those like meme videos that you see on Twitter sometimes about Bitcoin. And it's like maybe a warrior or it's like flips from movies or something, and they'll post like words along with what's happening. I remember I created a little video about Fast and Furious Tokyo, and it was I can't remember the name of him, but the main character in Han, they were looking over a bunch of people and they were just talking about him, saying, look at all those people. They're just kind of living. They don't know what's really going on outside of them. And I reclipped that, but I added just a bunch of like Bitcoin words or orange pill information in that video. So it is cool. And I have used it a little bit, but it's still very new.
Yeah.
There's still a lot because monetization just came out too on Twitter and X. So the potential is there. Right.
A lot of changes really fast lately. It's hard for me to, honestly, I've kind of stepped back a little. Like I used to be a lot more active on X, Twitter, and I've kind of faded the last probably half a year. Maybe I'll get back into it a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I just been, reading books, whatever, like looking at other Bitcoin resources. I still, I have signed up for how many different, Bitcoin email lists that I get all the time. So I'm pretty kept up without it lately, but I still use it for like messaging people and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise too on Twitter.
Yeah, so much noise.
There's a lot of scams going on too, all the cryptos and everything. So it's just
is there another industry where scams are more prevalent than crypto? Like,
it's too bad. It's just people like see these scams and they associate it with Bitcoin, and that's what bugs me a lot.
There's a lot of Bitcoin scams out there, and I think just the reason is the nature of Bitcoin. Once you send it, there's no going back. Whereas scamming people in the old world, the centralized authorities could sometimes intercept that, right? Where you get that Bitcoin, you get that crypto out of their wallet, it's game over, right? So
That's why education is important.
Yes. Thank God everybody in Bitcoin is so helpful.
That's right.
So helpful. And I think it's like our duty. I feel like once you know about Bitcoin and you believe what you believe about it, what us Bitcoiners believe about it, it almost becomes like your civic duty to start educating other people about it. It's like, what am I going to do? Just let this person suffer forever? Right. Or am I going to tell them about Bitcoin where they could, stack sats for a couple of halvings and, have your financial freedom? Yeah. Or at least be relatively wealthy from where you started, right?
Exactly. No, it's again, the education that comes with it too. Just it's over everything.
Right. So that was your first Bitcoin Niagara meetup, as mine. What was your takeaway? How did you feel about the meetup?
It was fun. They asked me if I wanted a schooner or another a pint or a schooner, and I asked what was the difference. They said $7 and $9. So I ordered the $9 beer, and it was like a huge beer, half the size of a pitcher. So that was fun. But you know what? There's a meme that I like, and it's like having a conversation with normies, and it's like just it's like a grayed out meme of a person just kind of like sitting there like all I guess upset, or just kind of a gray meme, and then it's having a 30-minute conversation with a Bitcoiner, and it's like all light skies, maybe rainbows or whatever. But so it's always nice to be around other people that talk about Bitcoin, because again, there's so much to learn from other people. Everybody kind of has their own experience outside of Bitcoin that they could bring into the space, and there's just so much to learn, and I'm here to learn.
Right. Yeah. That's another interesting thing about Bitcoin, is that it's so multidisciplinary. Is that some people come through a financial lens, through a computer science lens, economics lens, philosophical lens, which I think, that's kind of where I'm at. It's just, when you think about it philosophically, it just makes sense for the world to have one currency that's not controlled by anybody, that we can for sure put our money somewhere and we know what the rules are going to be.
Right.
And we could just have something certain like that. And we're still yet so far away from what the repercussions of something like this on society's going to have, right? Like, do you see Bitcoin having like large societal impact, or do you think it's more of just like a financial tool, and that's like kind of, it'll always just stay in that niche for people that are interested in money?
Well, I think the idea of money is a good one. It allows us to, again, purchase goods from other people, and other people can see that money as something that they could then go and purchase goods with. But then, of course, money is very corruptible. Like the money that we have right now, gold was very corruptible. They were able to cut the amount of gold that used to be in gold coins and make those gold coins worth a little bit less, but the people had no idea about this.
Right.
And they would send soldiers, armies to war, and how did they do that if they didn't have enough gold? They would start to cut their gold coins a little bit more, and the people had no idea, and then they would get just more money, but eventually the money just kind of kept becoming worth less and less and less.
So like the original inflation.
The original inflation, yes. But yeah, Bitcoin, there's 21 million Bitcoin, and they can all be divided by 100 million sats.
Yes.
I don't know the exact number, and it might be 4.2 quadrillion, but that's how many sats I think that there are right now. It's 4.2 quadrillion. And that is more than enough Bitcoin for the entire world.
Right.
So we can all be on a Bitcoin standard. I also think that countries are also kind of a psyop, because again, this is our world. We're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. If I'm going to whatever country, maybe I don't want to benefit that country and use their currency, but what's a neutral ground that everybody can use? And that's Bitcoin, because again, we're all playing by the same rules. It's not one country's going to use this to then go wreak havoc on this other side of the world, or this other part of the world. So I do see Bitcoin as kind of fixing the entire world, and hope it happens sooner than later.
Yeah.
It might take some time, but again, it works, and it's a machine that I think is unstoppable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you got a long ways to see it play out. How old are you, Xavier?
23 in May.
23 in May. Okay. So you got a long road ahead of you too.
For sure.
Even 10 years, even by the time you're my age, you're going to see Bitcoin develop so much, and we're going to look back and be like, wow, the price of Bitcoin was 70,000 or 69,000 US that day. And we're gonna look back in a couple of halvings. I'm sure of it.
Millions.
Yeah.
It's crazy the potential that, and I always saw it. Like I remember looking at a chart of the halvings, and I'm pretty sure in like 2036 the reward is like 0.01 or something, and I'm like, the computing power that goes into that is just going to be insane. That 0.01 is going to be worth all the energy.
In 2036,
something. It's either that or 2040. It's one of those years, but that's what I'm like. That's what I'm waiting for, at least, is that time. That's when I think that it could be where the entire world kind of catches on finally. Because again, it's a machine it makes sense. It's something that everybody can verify too.
Yeah.
So that takes away the corruption that comes from all the other currencies out there.
Right.
So everything could be verified. And people always think that there's like a lot of criminals that use Bitcoin, this and that. But at the end of the day, it's all verifiable, and that's what the government doesn't like, is that their transactions, their bribes that they've done to this person or that person can be verified. So that'll fix the world.
Oh, okay. You think the governments are the criminals using it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely some huge overlap that's much proven out there, depending on which country and organizations you're talking about. And yeah, Bitcoin is a way to, keep people accountable for a lot of things, and people can see where money is moving all the time. That's one of the cool things too. Like those whale watcher accounts. Oh, somebody just moved $5 billion worth of Bitcoin and it hasn't moved since 2013. Like that's super cool. But do you have any concerns about like the privacy around that? Like if you send me Bitcoin, then I can look at your address and see how much Bitcoin you have, right?
I think there are ways to do it properly. I would say, like, I'm maybe not so familiar with those ways yet, but there is definitely a way, I think, to keep it completely private. So I'm not too worried about it. And again, if we're all kind of, it's just like fiat. Like everybody can maybe look up somebody's net worth and kind of get an idea of how much they have.
Yeah.
So
if you're a wealthy individual,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, so what do you think about then the spot ETFs, and like what did you think before they were approved, and what are you thinking now? Like we're seeing BlackRock just recently has now 1% of the entire Bitcoin supply, and they just started buying in January. Like that is wild to me. Like they're gonna have the most, I think, or close to very soon.
I think MSCR MicroStrategy also has around or over 1% now.
But they've been buying since like 2020.
Yeah.
BlackRock's been buying for 3 months.
Yeah.
So like what are we gonna do? What are we gonna see in like a year or two from now? And the difference is BlackRock just gonna have like 5-10% of the Bitcoin by then. Like
yeah, so again, I don't know if I've said it, but like for me, all news is bullish for Bitcoin. So before hearing about the ETFs, like back in September, October, I was thinking, okay, if it gets approved, okay, that's bullish because millions or trillions of dollars are going to come flooding into Bitcoin. If it gets disapproved, it's still bullish just because everything is bullish for Bitcoin. So it got approved, and now it gives access to maybe people who wouldn't get into Bitcoin themselves. But again, like me for the first time, when I first got access to getting into Bitcoin, I was curious and I wanted to get into it. So it might allow other people to kind of get that spark as well, to get curious, to get into it, start learning for themselves. So I think at the end of the day, it'll help more people kind of get exposed to the lifestyle that we're kind of living right now. And that's I guess the Bitcoin lifestyle. But I think I saw even yesterday the ETFs had bought up like 3,500 Bitcoin, and the miners only produced 800 Bitcoin. So again, the supply and demand, the demand is there, and the supply is going to have a halving in a couple of weeks or a few weeks. So I think it's very bullish, and I'm not too worried about BlackRock owning whatever percentage of it, because Bitcoin doesn't need anybody. It's going to keep moving forward. If they sell it, okay, they're going to sell prematurely. They might have more power than maybe they had before. But again, I think BlackRock before Bitcoin already owned so much of the world, so much of the different industries. So the fact that they wanted to get into Bitcoin means that we're kind of on the right path here too.
Right. And I also feel like just to further your point there, that Bitcoin is like a Trojan horse too. So it's like, oh yeah, they're going to sink billions into Bitcoin, and little do they know that that's going to swallow up, so much more investment when people realize what kind of tool Bitcoin is. And I feel like there's a lot of financial tools, legacy financial tools, that can be replaced by Bitcoin as well. And you're giving everybody access to it. Now, whether they're always going to be centralized, or, I don't think anybody can ever, no one's ever going to be able to withdraw Bitcoin from an ETF like that. That's always going to be centralized. So,
Right.
I guess we'll see how that plays out.
And the ETFs, I think they're fiat. You're buying stock, or you're buying an ETF with dollars, with fiat currency to make more fiat currency. So it's not Bitcoin at the end of the day either.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think anything gets the gains of Bitcoin that usually does, and like other things can happen in a company, mismanagement or
Right.
malicious activity. Anything can happen. They turn into honeypots. I've learned my lesson early on: not your keys, not your coins, self-custody all the way. And we'll love the platforms that don't hold custody. So we were talking about, Bull Bitcoin that Sean uses. I use Bitcoin Well, and these are just like companies that promote self-custody, and they're not holding onto your coins, but more difficult for them as a company, I'm sure, because they don't have customers' funds to draw upon to run their business, but respectable in how they're navigating the space as a business in the Bitcoin community. Now, I think I saw on Twitter or X that you now don't own stocks. You are all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I have split feelings around this, because here in Canada, we can have a tax-free savings account. We can make money. We can pull some money out tax-free, where every Bitcoin transaction is a taxable event. You're taxed your full amount on any Bitcoin if you do take out your money one day. What are your thoughts, stocks versus Bitcoin, and why don't you own any stocks anymore?
So maybe I came across the wrong way. I don't buy any stocks anymore. So
Okay.
I do have some of my old stocks.
Gotcha.
So for example, one that I've owned was Shopify. The reason I got into Shopify is because I started using Shopify, and I realized, I think it was a few years ago I got into it, and I realized this is an industry I think a lot of people are going to get in, or a lot of people are going to start using Shopify, because a lot of people have stores to open up, or different programs to, I guess, maybe sell to people, and Shopify was a good platform to do that on.
Okay.
So I find value investing isn't that much of a bad idea. However, I don't promote it anymore. I only promote, I guess, studying and buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because I know that the stock market is very corrupted as well. The market makers are always manipulating the price.
Yeah.
You could see it with the miners. You could see with like Mara, Riot, that the price of Bitcoin goes from 60 to all-time highs in the matter of 2 days, but the price of these miners start tanking. Why? That doesn't make any sense. So it's not that I don't have stocks. Like I do have some stocks.
Okay.
I don't promote it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like to promote the idea of Bitcoin and education, studying, and once you understand Bitcoin, why Bitcoiners are the way they are, why Bitcoin's at $70,000 today, why Bitcoin has done so well in the past year, then you can, I would say, do whatever you want.
Right.
I like to promote the idea of studying Bitcoin and Bitcoin.
Yeah. So Bitcoin's the more you study it, the more conviction you have, and the more confident you're feeling about, sinking your whole life savings into it.
Exactly. And
that means the quicker you'll get rich.
Sure. The idea with the taxable, the tax part of Bitcoin, I've heard that conversation come up often, and maybe I'm young and naive, but for me, I'm like, that won't matter, because what I see is a world on the Bitcoin standard, a world that I'm going to be able to buy things with sats instead of dollars. So at the end of the day, I don't see myself ever having to withdraw that Bitcoin to then trigger that taxable event. I see myself just using the Bitcoin in the future.
Yes. Well, you did prelude that with maybe I'm naive, and I'm not saying you are, but I will say that when I first got it, and I've been a couple years longer than you now, and I had that exact same mentality. And then I come to realize, like, that's not going to happen like overnight. And I feel like it's going to take, we move so slow as a society that you are going to have a lot of wealth in Bitcoin before we get to that point. And you're going to want to pull upon your funds, and you're going to have to make a decision whether, like, what am I doing here? We're going to pull on my funds here. I would say sell your stocks first. But yeah, I'm hoping that we adopt some sort of like El Salvadorian rule where, you know, any purchase under $200, you don't have to worry about, and it makes sense for us to make, or even more, even go further than that. Hopefully that's just a start, and we keep going further, and
hopefully we can orange for more merchants to just accept the Bitcoin.
yeah,
that's what I'm kind of hoping for, but it will take a while.
yeah.
For sure.
Sean said that too. So I guess I'm going to ask you what, similar to what I asked Sean, is that like, what does Bitcoin development in Niagara or Canada, but like more specifically Niagara, like what would you like to see happen here? I know we talked about merchants accepting it, but is there anything more, like, was there, you know, you and I talked about, like, you know, setting up a booth or something like that? Like, what other ideas or initiatives do you think could be done here?
So in Niagara, and then again Canada and Pole, I think there's a lot of people who are uncomfortable right now. I think our prices have skyrocketed. A lot of people are just feeling like something isn't right. So I think, again, for me, Bitcoin was in my face. So I ended up going towards it and learning about it. So I think Bitcoin has to be put in people's faces for them to really, I guess, take that step to learn it. So I would just hope that more people like us, maybe again, set up a booth, set up a kiosk where we can teach people about Bitcoin, teach people about self-custody, why Bitcoin is maybe a hedge against corruption or hedge against inflating dollars. I would just, and I know it's going to happen. I know that companies are going to start up, and there's probably already a lot of companies starting up, but I know that's coming. I would like to be a part of it. But that's what I would hope, is just more companies kind of start putting out products, start putting out, promoting self-custody. Like I know there are a few here in Canada, for example, Bull Bitcoin, I think Tahini's as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've followed them on Twitter, and it's like a restaurant chain that
Yeah.
says that they put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And
Yeah, I had Ali on the podcast actually. But I think like the next, like a week after he interviewed Pierre Polyev,
Oh yeah,
he came on to my show. Yeah,
cool.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, they put it on the balance sheet. I don't know if you can, like, I think you can pay, but they don't sell it. They just accept the Bitcoin.
So yeah, so that's what I hope happens, is just more people start to accept it. Like I know if I were to ever have a company, and I had Shopify for a bit, and I had a store, and I went through something that I wanted to accept Bitcoin on it. I came into some complications with it, and I ended up moving away from the store. But I know that that was something that was important to me, was I want to accept Bitcoin, not cryptos, not all this noise, meme coins, everything. It's I want to accept Bitcoin, because I know that there's a market out there that also wants to. And the thing is, people like I don't want to buy things with Bitcoin maybe right now either, just because again it's more valuable than that.
Exactly.
With other cryptos, you see that people are just giving away cryptos. If you buy some, if you open up a wallet, I'll send you some crypto this, crypto that, and I'm like, that means it's not that valuable if you just want to give it away.
Yeah. Did you have,
you're rich and you have a bunch?
Did you have a crypto phase? Like, you're obviously a Bitcoin maxi, but like you know, most people aren't born Bitcoin maxis, right? They become them. So what's your story there?
Yeah, I think around the time when I first got into Bitcoin, I also bought some Ethereum. However, the longer I've been on Bitcoin Twitter, I think at maybe sometime last year, I was posting like maybe my top 5 cryptos, right? And somebody called me out, and they were like, and I said I was a Bitcoin maxi, and they're like, "You're not a Bitcoin maxi, you have some cryptos." So that got to me a little bit, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just kind of move over to Bitcoin only. So I have owned some cryptos and maybe made a profit on some of the cryptos, but again, like I said before about stocks, I would never promote the cryptos to people. I would promote learning about Bitcoin, studying Bitcoin, because once you do that, you start to understand cryptos, stocks a little bit more. And then once you've learned Bitcoin, once you understand Bitcoin, you don't want to buy cryptos, or you don't want to buy stocks. Or at least if you do it, you'll come at it from a more educated standpoint, knowing kind of your game plan, if you're going to get in and when you're going to get out. But at the end of the day, I think that Bitcoin's going to be the only one, because it doesn't make sense to have all these different cryptocurrencies with all these different animal names.
Yeah. No, I thought, when I first got in, I'm like, oh, why not decentralize everything? And then over time, I'm like, well, Bitcoin's going to like be so impactful. I'm like, do we really need to decentralize this or that? Like, a lot of things are fine, centralized and don't corrupt the world. When money is centralized, we see what happens, right? So, yeah, hopefully this, we get to that Bitcoin standard in our lifetimes, and
I hope so.
yeah, well, things move fast, right? Like, I think it was Bitcoin, like first asset to reach $1 trillion in like the shortest amount of time or something like that.
Yeah.
So each new technology, I feel like it's quicker and quicker. So hopefully that Bitcoin adoption is quicker.
There was a chart I saw too, and it was like the refrigerator, the cell phone,
Yeah.
the television, the this and that, and it shows that it doesn't happen overnight. It happened like for the first 10 years, maybe 5% of the world only had a refrigerator. Over the next 10 years, that's when 20% of the world got the refrigerator.
Right.
Over the next 50 years, that's when 100% of the world had a refrigerator. So it takes time, and Bitcoin's been around for like 15 years. So
yeah. And like you said earlier, like a lot of people are just on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking about it.
And they know something's wrong.
Yeah.
They know something's wrong, and they're still stuck in the game. They're blaming politicians, this and that, and they're not realizing
they're on one side or the other.
Yeah, it's really the money that's broken right now.
It is.
And
it's been broken.
In Lebanon, I went in 2019, and $1 Canadian would get me 1,000 Lebanese pounds.
Wow.
Today, $1 Canadian would get me 100,000 Lebanese pounds. Over the past 4 years, the inflation has gotten so bad, and that's similar to, I think, Venezuela, Argentina, maybe Turkey, but a lot of countries are going through that right now. And because I saw it happen in Lebanon, I can see it happen in Canada. I can see it happen in the United States. And again, that's why Bitcoin is worth what it's worth. It's not Bitcoin's worth one Bitcoin, but compared to the dollars, it's worth 70,000. It's worth 95,000 Canadian.
Right.
Or 4.6 million Lebanese pounds or
right.
price.
Yeah. Some governments are just, have worse mismanagement than others, and face inflation way worse. But all fiat currencies face inflation because they all can't help themselves but to print more money.
Exactly.
So Bitcoin is our savior and our hedge against that. And yeah, once you kind of got to figure out a lot of things with Bitcoin. You're like, oh, you got to research money a little bit. Like one good resource for me was The Seventh Property. I mentioned that book a few times now, and kind of goes through the monetary properties of each type of currency throughout history and how Bitcoin just bangs every one of them off and creates a new one, which is immutability, which is the blockchain. When something is after 3 confirmation, it's essentially immutable on the blockchain. So, but yeah, what about you? Do you have any favorite resources in the space? I know Twitter, or maybe any favorite people that you follow on Twitter, favorite podcasts, shows, books?
I was actually going to just say I've learned a lot from Twitter Spaces. And again, I know that there's a lot of noise on there. Sometimes you can get in a space and there's just a bunch of people arguing, but there's a lot of good people that go on Twitter Spaces and like to share their story, share what they've learned, how they've changed because of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Twitter Spaces is actually one of the really good things I found like newish about Twitter, because it's like now you have not only the chance to respond to an Elon Musk or like someone huge like that, but you can talk to them. Like that is wild to me. And what other platform can you do that where 1,000 people are jumping on a call? Oh, no one wants to talk. This person does. Let them on, and now all of a sudden you're conversating with these people.
It's crazy. You can conversate or meet anybody across the world, and just I guess have 2 different opinions from somebody that lives in Asia or someone that lives in Europe or Africa, anywhere, and we're here in North America.
Yeah,
just like that.
Now, it was just recently announced that, Sam Bankman-Fried, he got sentenced to 25 years for FTX and everything that went on there. I haven't really followed that too much. Have you, or like, do you have any thoughts or comments about that?
I haven't followed it too much either. I know that that's the reason, or one of the reasons why we had a crypto winter in 2022 was because of all that. But I hadn't heard of FTX actually until it crashed, until everything happened with it. That's when I heard about it. So it was never really too important with me. Okay. But I think that's actually what might have woken me up from crypto versus Bitcoin. Maybe event too.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's definitely an eye opener of, self-custody, Bitcoin versus crypto, loaning your Bitcoin. BlockFi was another, like one of those interest companies. that I got involved with. Luckily, didn't get screwed too bad, but a lot of people were promoting it. Pomp, Peter McCormack, all these like people that you think are very reputable people in the space with a huge following, that extended out towards. So, yeah,
it's all lessons
for sure.
Lessons, and you even mentioned it earlier, but like again, that's what Bitcoin is. It's not just learning about money, but it's really learning about everything. It's learning about corruption, history, politics, diets.
Yeah.
You learn about everything when you learn about Bitcoin.
For sure. Yeah, it just branches out so many different topics. You
learn. All paths lead to Bitcoin.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
That's actually my thing. One of my headlines and one of my socials, anyway.
Yeah. I wanted to I was thinking of like starting a podcast, or it was maybe like a Twitter Spaces, but I wanted to actually name it "All Roads Lead to Bitcoin."
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a good one. That one definitely stuck with me.
It's like all roads lead to Rome, well, all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Oh,
prove me wrong.
For sure. Yeah, you dive down the rabbit hole in so many different categories, and it's like, okay, when you finally wake up, you're gonna realize, like, focus on Bitcoin, because like that's what's gonna get you to where you want to be.
Right.
That's what's gonna make you a better person. It's gonna incentivize your savings habits. It's just amazing, right? That's why we're both here tonight. We're like what other like currency or financial tool or asset or stock has like a cult following like Bitcoin, right? Like unless it's other cryptocurrency.
There's a meme that I like, and it's like, I'm in a cult. I'm in a cult that makes people think for themselves, and that's I think what Bitcoin is. It's we're and like you said earlier, but Bitcoiners, like, we all want to help each other.
Yeah.
If you reach out to somebody who's in the Bitcoin space, hey, can you show me or teach me or give me some good resources for self-custody? They'll definitely send you some. Like, people in Bitcoin want to see other people succeed, and that's why it's a good community.
Yeah. Especially with like Lightning Network now, like people are really willing to like, oh, I'll send you some Satoshis, check it out.
Yeah.
Have you experienced or used Lightning yet, or probably not too much, just being in Canada?
Not too much. I do know somebody in Canada. He opened up, if you know Minecraft, he opened up a Minecraft server that is strictly uses Lightning. So the in-game currency in that server is Bitcoin. And it's kind of mind-blowing. I haven't played on it, or haven't really gone on it too much, but there's a lot that you can do with Lightning, or with Bitcoin. So I guess that's my story on it. But somebody opened up a Minecraft server that strictly uses Bitcoin Lightning.
Very interesting.
And you can, I guess, get paid in Bitcoin to play.
Wow, I should tell my nephew about this. He spends a lot of time on Minecraft.
Yeah.
I play with
He'll be rich one day for playing games.
Hopefully. That whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing, that's crazy to me. Like, I thought that stuff was kind of in the past in crypto, because I saw so much shit going, because I was in like started in 2017. Right. So like I saw like a whole bunch of other shit go down. So I was buying ICOs. I would have so much more Bitcoin if I just would have stuck to Bitcoin and bought more Bitcoin. Tell us, like, where can we follow you on Twitter and learn more about what you have to say?
Wall Street Bitcoin. That's my Twitter handle.
Is it Wall Street Bitcoin or Wall Street BTC?
Wall Street BTC.
Okay.
X, actually. So somebody else has Wall Street BTC.
Okay.
So Wall Street BTC X, and I guess Xavier. So the X just, I guess, works.
That does work, yeah.
But I post pretty controversial things.
Most Bitcoiners do.
Yeah,
that's fine.
My mission is to just help people learn, and again, I'm learning, so I like to just share what I learn as well. Yeah, for sure. And I believe we're all equal. We all have the same opportunities, and we all deserve the same things in life. So that's why I love Bitcoin, and I think we're all Bitcoiners. I realized it. That's very well put. That'll be a good takeaway for me. Xavier, you're from Welland. I've never had another Wellander on the podcast before. Yeah. You're from? You went to high school here? Where did you go? Jean Vanier. Jean Vanier. Yes, you did tell me that. Okay. And do you want to be in Welland? Like, is this, what's your end game? Do you want to be around this area? Well, I have family around here, and after working for a long time and just dedicating a lot of time to work, I've realized that the most valuable time is spent with family. So I do always want to kind of stay near family or bring them with me somewhere. But like I maybe mentioned at the event that we had a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, I was in the Philippines for 47 days. Wow. And we rented 2 motorcycles for $10 for 3 days.
Jesus.
And we were living on an island for 3 days, and we went snorkeling for maybe $20, 3 of us. So I've realized, and again, we ordered food. I get this huge burger that's very nice for like $5, and I realized, oh my God, the price of living here is so much cheaper than it is here in Canada.
Yeah.
So I don't always see myself maybe staying here, but again, I am a family man, so I would like to always stay around family and always maybe kind of visit back. But I'm like I maybe said earlier, if this is our world. Where we should be allowed to go everywhere. Countries are just another psyop.
Yeah.
I think I'm not really closed off to going anywhere, visiting anywhere, just because, again, I was living on an island for 3 days for like $50 for that entire weekend.
Yeah. It's really eye-opening when you get around other places and like how cheap you can survive in other parts of the world, and like how our news scares people from going to other parts of the world very much. But
I was worried at first.
Yeah.
And then I got there and completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
I was like looking up, is it safe? Is it this? Is
Well, and that's smart to do.
Yeah.
It's smart to do that no matter where you go, right? I mean, like, unless
you always have to watch your back.
100%.
Like in Toronto, you gotta watch your back. Like, you can't just...
There's bad parts everywhere.
Exactly.
There's, people that have been, corrupted or radicalized everywhere you go. So you just gotta watch who you're with, and, don't get involved with the wrong people, and, pay what you owe.
Yeah. Don't drink too much.
Don't drink too much, especially if you're a dick when you do drink. Well, that's cool, man. I appreciate you doing this tonight. Again, this is a big night for both of us, and let's cheers to that, man.
Yeah, we'll celebrate, and thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Cheers.